Eleni. I've been working in the New York City ceramic scene for something like 15 years. I've been a tech, I've been a teacher, I've been a fabricator. This is my studio. I rent some shelves to people and make my own work and do all of that as a freelancer now, but I've worked for other people as well over the years. And I wanted to host this talk because I've watched the ceramic scene grow over the years, and I love so many of the people I love work in this field with me. And as ceramics is getting hot, getting popular in so many ways right now, I want to talk about what that's like for us, for the people I love who work in this industry, and also how we can keep it cool, make it better. So I'm really grateful for all of these people joining me to have this discussion today, and also everybody that helped me. Everyone that helped me today is a studio member of mine or a friend of mine who also works in the ceramic field pretty much. So we're going to start with Danieille and introduce our panelists.
Hello. Hi, I'm Danieille Pomorski, and I have been working in ceramics since like junior high. I don't know. I started in junior high or high school, so around like 20 plus years, and I've been working in Brooklyn for around the same amount of time, like 10, 15 years. And yeah, I've done the same things. I've taught, I've teched, I've been a tech manager for studios, I've fabricated, I've made my own work, and yeah, I really am enmeshed. I like ceramics a lot, and I'm excited to have this conversation. Thank you very much for having us all, Eleni.
My name is Dave. Thanks for having me. I accidentally turned off earlier, so I didn't want to do that again. Nice having you guys here. I know I see some familiar faces as well. It's nice. I've been doing ceramics for about, I would say, like 13, 14 years. I'm originally from San Francisco. Been in New York now 7, going 8 years. I started teaching at random studios, kind of to meet more people and, just learn more about the ceramics community in New York. And I've been a director at a ceramic studio. Also teach, also fabricate. I know we're just gonna kind of repeat the same thing over and over here. But also make art here and there. Yeah, what else is there? Oh, I just opened up a studio. It's actually pretty close. It's like 15 minutes from here, walking distance, off of Morgan Street on the L. It's called Little Moon. If you guys wanna find the Instagram, it's Little Moon BK.
Hello, I'm Camila Lim Hing. I have been doing ceramics for about 11 years. 5 of those years have been full-time, and 3 of those years have been in New York. Again, I've been a teacher, fabricator, technician, as all of us have been and are currently probably. I started teaching because I wanted a discount on firings and clay. And I got an opportunity to move to New York to be an assistant, and then it kind of like spiraled from there, being a tech and fabricator and all that. So I'm excited to be here. I have extreme imposter syndrome, so I'm like, why am I here right now? But I'm very grateful that you all are here to listen to us talk about clay.
Hi, my name's Ryan Rennie. Currently, I'm the studio manager at Greenwich House Pottery, and I manage another ceramic studio in Ridgewood called the Ceramic Studio at the Box Factory. And I came to ceramics about 17 years ago through a high school class, and then went to the Maryland Institute College of the Arts to pursue an undergraduate degree, and then went right into grad school at Alfred University. Then after that, I've just been in New York, kind of doing all the similar things, teaching, fabricating, managing, making my own work. Yeah, so happy to be here.
Awesome. You can just pass that mic back down. I'll use this one for now. Thanks. Sorry about the train, New York problems. Hey, cuz. That's my cousin. Do you want to turn the air conditioning on? I think it's going to get hot in here. Do you know how to do that? Thank you. Okay. Okay, so thanks for the intros, you guys. We have so much to talk about. I think that we're going to get to just a fraction of it, but really excited to talk to you guys today. So one thing that kind of came up just in the intros is that when I was looking for panelists, I was really hoping to get people who specialize, to find people who specialize in like these different aspects, teaching, teching, fabricating. But as it turns out, pretty much all of us do all of these things. And I think it's important to talk about why that is. Why do we do all of these things? Is it because we want to? I don't think so. But maybe that's just me. Any of you guys want to start talking about that? Why do we do all of them? Why are we all teachers, techs, and fabricators?
Money. I think that it is like it's a financial thing, right? So a lot of people need to have multiple, or a lot of artists in general, but especially since we're talking about ceramics, I don't know if it's especially, but we're talking about ceramics right now. And in the ceramics field, a lot of people are paid lower than is like really matching their experience or their credentials or their abilities. So a lot of us have to take multiple jobs in multiple areas and be as broad as possible in order to be as employable as possible, in order to get as many jobs as we need to survive in New York City. Or, I'm sure that is like true of pretty much any city that people are working in ceramics as like a main career.
Definitely. One thing that Camila brought up that I did want to touch on in her intro was you talked about like having some sort of studio arrangement that was working in exchange for space. And I think, that's how I started in the ceramic field and that's how I've had access to studios purely my entire career, like through jobs. I have actually last year, for the first time in my life, rented a membership for a month in another country. It was the first time I've paid for a membership. It was exorbitant. But like, I think a lot of people in the ceramic industry work in these jobs so that we can have access to the materials. Anyway, just wanted to bring that up.
Speaking on that, we're going to touch on like accessibility and all that, but ceramics is extremely inaccessible, and part of teaching and part of working in other studios and for other people is having access to these studios and having access to materials and stuff. So, when I first moved to New York, I think before I even moved to New York, I was on the wait list for Limsclay to be a member for they're like, it's going to be like a year and a half. I was like, okay, great. And then by the time I got off the wait list of Limsclay, I was already working for them. So I'm like, okay, I don't need that anymore. But I was working for 3 other studios. I had a shelf at 3 other studios. And so that was kind of my in to having access. And really, I didn't have any other way to do ceramics other than having that access from these studios. And I recently opened my own studio about a year ago, and that was just like happenstance and like very crazy opportunity to do that. But besides that, it would have been impossible if not for the opportunity that I did have, which I will talk about later. But there was something else you were talking about something else. We are so many things because of financial, monetary reward. But I think also, I would go crazy if I only did one thing, ceramics in part of making is a very solitary activity. If you have your own space, you are not part of a community, you are really just doing it on your own, hunched over in a shrimp posture. But my partner always says, you need to keep teaching because it keeps you sane, and it really does. Teaching, it's really fun. My Wednesday night class, I love them people. I've had them for like 2 years. I really think that they stay for the gossip that I tell, and I'm always like, guys, what's your workplace drama? But it really does keep me sane. So I think, yes, I need to have my eggs in many baskets, for financial reasons, but also because I think I'd probably go crazy if I simply just like fabricated the whole time or made my own work for the whole time, which I have done, and it is hard to do.
That was actually another follow-up question to this, which would be if any of you guys could focus on one of those, what would it be? But did anyone have anything else to say about why we do all these things?
Yeah, I can add on to that. I think for me, like, of course, there's the financial thing of like needing to have many jobs going on at once, but I think it's larger than that. Just for my own practice, like, I really am trying to understand object making and ceramic objects from as many angles as I can. So as a maker myself in my own practice, like my own art only gets better if I have all these other lenses to examine my own work through. So studio management is a lens for me to examine my practice through, and so is making art for others, and so is teaching. So I personally don't separate them all. It's part of one practice, and I also don't separate like the rest of my life from that practice as well. So the more kind of angles I can have to study this like immense history and craft, like the better I become as a maker. So I kind of want to keep all those hustles for that reason as well.
Yeah. For me, it's more about the community, and that's kind of the reason why I started teaching, is to foster a new community that's coming out of, for instance, like a random community studio in Brooklyn, or whether it be college. And, I think that's the way I was taught, is when I was in college. My professor really was into creating a community that kind of came back, and we would do big firings, or, people would do barbecue while we do firings, and not everybody does ceramics full time, and that's kind of the best part of ceramics, is that you meet all different sorts of people, and they all come together like this to support each other. And that's been like my thing about even fabricating. I'll find it's not a random artist would find me and be like, hey, can you make this tiny little vertebrae? I want to make a necklace, like a porcelain necklace out of this. And it's like, that sounds fun, let's do it. And then, from there, it will lead into somebody else, and it creates a bigger community. And I'm not just reaching out to like people who just wants to do ceramics. It could be a painter, it could be a filmmaker, it could be somebody who, owns a restaurant, or, and so I think that's been a biggest part of like doing all these things, that I continue to make or be part of a bigger community. And I really appreciate that for, being able to do all these things. And another thing is, like, even though a lot of people do ceramics, not a lot of people can do all these things, right? And it takes a lot of experience and knowledge to get to pretty much where we are, to be able to teach different things, and to be able to fabricate different things, and to be able to, fix the kiln, but at the same time, like, I don't know, change the elements, and make new glazes. How do you lower the temperature of a glaze? So there's so much to it that that you have to learn. And I think as much as there are that many people, there are only a specific few that can do all of that, and we're here.
Sorry, I'd be remiss if I was just like, money. I also met my husband in a ceramic studio, so community is really important to me as well. I love community. Sorry.
Beautiful. Yeah. No, I mean, I think we're all like tired and bitter about money. But I also love that. I feel like the takeaway from this question is that like the medium is vast, and we are really tired, but we love it all so much, right? Like every part of it. Like, it's very true. Like I love fabricating because I get to learn new things on crazy projects that I would never want to make. Like, I would never try certain techniques, if I wasn't having to do them for a client. So, and I love that part of work. But anyway, okay, thanks guys. So the next question I'm going to touch upon is talking about having a ceramics career in New York. Is it sustainable? How do we do it? As an artist, do you think that how are we making it happen? Is it sustainable here in New York? Do you think it's more sustainable elsewhere? I don't know if anyone has perspective on that. I've only done it here, and it's rough.
I personally think it's more sustainable in New York. I've tried to do it in other cities, and New York has an art industry, and there are very few other cities that have an art industry. There might be like commerce, or there might be some jobs, but this is like a truly functioning, like massive network of opportunities. So I'm broke, but it's like I'm really supported in that through everyone I know in New York. And just, yeah, the amount of jobs that you could jump between here is just, it's kind of infinite. So through that, I think being an artist is tough. Like New York, to me, makes it a little bit easier, personally.
Have you worked in other places?
Yeah, I worked in Asheville for a little bit, which has a great ceramic scene, but I just found that there weren't a lot of jobs. Yeah, so that was the hard thing there.
I think New York is the easiest place to get jobs and like the gig economy. Like everyone's offering any kind of job. Just go on Craigslist and you'll find, whatever medical testing for money. But even ceramics, like there's a ton of jobs everywhere. But with that, I think the trade-off is your rent is upwards of $1,000, and the train and food and whatever. But when you live in like Gainesville, Florida, which is where I used to live for like a year before I moved here, my historical wood floor, clawfoot bathtub, 1-bedroom apartment was $700. And I was sustaining off of teaching and selling my ceramics, and that was awesome, and I felt rich, right? So definitely it depends on what you're trying to do. I think with the power of the internet and Instagram and whatever, if you have, the ability to sell work online, which is very hard to amass like an audience who wants to consistently buy work, is like mind-boggling for one, but also, I recently saw a reel of a podcast, which usually I'd be like, I read an article, but I saw a reel of a podcast that was like, it is impossible to make a living on selling $45 mugs. I don't know if you saw this. No.
I think I got fed it, and then as soon as I clicked it, it like did that.
They're like, you don't need to see that. It's okay. You don't need to see that. Yeah, it was like, it is impossible to make a living on $45 mugs. And I was like, felt offended. I was like, how dare you? But then I realized, like my price points are above $45. My rent at the time that I was selling full time was $700, and my groceries were like $30. And it was much more sustainable to be selling $45 mugs and $100 vases and whatever, and teaching part-time, but here I can't do that, right? So I am jumping between fabrication jobs, teaching jobs, all those things. And I feel like for the most part, this is another thing, but being fairly compensated, there's really nowhere else where you will be paid as much as you are here to do what you are doing. And I think that it is a valued job because not many people have, we all have 10 plus years experience in doing this. And I think ceramics is really hot right now. And, 2020, everyone's like, I'm going to do the most inaccessible art form for some reason. But
that brings me to another question, which is like, I don't know, do we want to talk about what we think fair compensation is? Is anyone? I mean, I just kind of beg to differ that people are commonly well compensated for these kinds of jobs. Do you guys feel that it's normal practice?
I agree with you. Yeah, I think that if you look at any job board posting, and it'll say like the level of experience that they're expecting from someone, which is usually like 2 to 5 years, and then sometimes they want like a bachelor's degree, sometimes they want a master's degree, sometimes they want like all of this, a lot of experience in different, like in like a very specific field. And then when you look at the like benefits, it'll be like access. And then if you look at the compensation, it just like won't be exist. It doesn't exist, or it'll say somewhere under $30, right, an hour. Rarely have I seen something that is like not like it's like a fabrication job or else like something equivalent that is over that range. And generally they don't even list it because because honestly, shame on them. But it is a thing where it's like, if we want to advocate for fabricators to be fairly compensated, or for technicians to be fairly compensated, or for people that they're asking for this amount of experience and this amount of education to be fairly compensated, then the people that are running those jobs and managing those jobs need to be asking for more money for either their program, or they need to be asking for more money from whoever that job is coming from, right? So like if you are a person that is in a position of getting like a lot of jobs that you know that you're going to need to hire like 3 people to work under you in order to reach the deadline, then you need to be bidding higher. And everybody needs to be, if everyone bid higher, then it would be normal, right? Like it's like nobody in the film industry is getting paid $20 an hour, and if they are, then like also shame on them. But like it's like if you look at I was watching a video the other day where somebody was talking about where somebody was talking about their like very, very thriving ceramics production company, and they started naming numbers and like what they were bringing in. And I turned to my husband and I said, like, I can pull up NYFA right now and show you where they've posted a job for $20 an hour. Like, shame on them for talking about how much money they're netting. Pay the people that are bringing in that net.
Yeah. I'm gonna launch into something, but do you guys want to say something?
Also, don't rank Como.
Dave or Ryan, do you guys want to say something before I
can talk about it in the sense of like teaching and in universities. And I feel like, well, New York's great because you have to post how much you get paid. But even then, let's say like you're going through the final stage of getting hired, and they'll be like, oh, we wanted a, what's the name? Anyway, so we let's say like we wanted to hire a full-time professor, but we actually want an assistant professor, and that would be a lower pay, which then brings down, let's say like there was a post for City College recently, and it was posted for like $96,000, but when they offered the job, it was lowered down to like 86 or something. So thinking about that and putting all the effort, and I've been through a lot of these hiring processes, and every time I do it, you have to put a lot of time and you have to wait, because like unless the admin can work really fast, they won't let you know for at least a month. So you can go for the final interview and do the whole shebang, and then you feel great, but you won't hear from them for about a month, and then at least a month. 3 months. Yes, sometimes 3 months, especially if you do it like before the summer, then you have all that time. And then they will try to negotiate with you, and they will always try to lower the price or lower the salary. And especially in New York, you have to make at least $100K to survive, right? And to pay rent and to do, I mean, maybe not, but if you have roommates, if you have a partner, then everything gets cheaper. But so. When you shortchange somebody like that, then it becomes really hard. And I've seen this like many times, and I don't think it's not just in terms of ceramics, but it could also be other avenues. But I think in terms of working at a university, I think there needs to be a clearance in terms of like, this is what we're trying to hire, and no matter the skill or level or your age or your background, and be honest about what they're trying to do, or who they're trying to hire, or how much they're trying to pay. So I'm just ranting. Sorry.
No, we're all gonna rant. Right. It's okay.
You're good. Okay. One last thing. I was because I'm talking about compensation coming from someone who's started doing full-time ceramics like straight out of college, and I was working, service in high school, and I'm coming from the South where the minimum wage I was making $7 an hour. So in my brain, $25 to $50 an hour is a lot of money, just because I'm so young. I'm so young, and everybody that I surround myself with, they also are in the gig economy. They are also working at an hourly wage. They are also not getting benefits. And I'm not saying that is awesome or fair, but it's what's normal. And because it's normal, I'm like, I don't feel so bad that I'm making this much money. Would it be nice to make more? Yeah, right. But at the same time, being an assistant fabricator or being an artist assistant, 20 sucks, but $20 to $25 an hour, that's normal. Like, that's a normal job. Even people who are higher up, people that I know, they are making also that, which I would classify, that's pretty shitty. But, there's coming from straight out of college, that's kind of like, I don't really have anything to work on.
But how long do you think you can make that much money and live here? Because this is what I'm talking about, is like, how is working in the ceramics field sustainable at that rate?
See, it's not sustainable. That's the thing. But
how do we continue to develop our practice?
Exactly.
How do we continue in this field? And actually, that brings me to something that we kind of all talked about, which is that, like, it just so happens that all of us kind of opened our own studios. I think that might be something,
good segue.
Oh, you mentioned you were thinking about it, but I don't think she wants to talk. But I mean, is that, like, that seems kind of like part of the progression to me. Like, I kind of realized at some point that I couldn't keep working for other people and continue doing this kind of work. I don't know, does anyone?
I mean, I opened my own studio, but I'm still working for a lot of people.
Same.
Yeah. But I think, going into, if we're talking about our own studios, I opened my own studio. It's like a private, member studio, which is what you have now, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I opened my own studio because I had this opportunity to make dinnerware for a restaurant, which was like a crazy, like, weird opportunity. But that was kind of the push to allow me to open the studio and front the money to, do the build out and, like, buy a kiln and, like, wheels and all that. So I think if I didn't have this contract that was fairly compensated and well paying, I would not have been able to open my own studio. And I really did need my own studio to do this contract of, I needed to be in control of my firings to fire 600 plates. My God.
Right.
Pray for my back.
Okay. So I'm going to jump a little bit to say, like, so while we're doing all these things, and I can launch into a lot of gripes or whatever about how the ceramic industry works, how the business structure, like common business structures are, but I won't. We do so many things, right? Like, we are on a regular basis, we are doing, like, manual labor, we are doing math, we are ordering supplies, we are doing, like, we have people skills, we're teaching, we're doing 100 things.
Exposing ourselves to dangerous chemicals.
Exactly, yeah, hazardous conditions. Like, the work that we are doing is highly skilled and very laborious. How do we convey the importance of our skill set and fair compensation for it? That's my next question. Are we doing a good job? How should we do it better? Oh yeah, pass that.
I have had students who work for artists, and I think that's kind of the benefit of being in New York, is there's so many artists who are kind of switch. Hello? Okay. We're working for kind of like high-end artists who fabricate, and they're able to sustain their livelihood financially. And I think this kind of what New New York offers is that there is so much money here, and the question is like, how do we tap into it? Obviously, and there are artists who sell to these rich folks, and when you work for these artists and they've been doing, because a lot of these artists have been working in not ceramics, but like in art for a long time, and they have the connection and they have the sponsorship to maintain a studio practice, that's far beyond what we can think of, and they can compensate artists. And that's the best part about working for artists, if you work for the right artists, is that they know the struggle because they've been through it, and they're willing to pay for artists who are also upcoming, and they know that these young artists will eventually leave, but they're also learning a skill set. And I've seen some examples where they have been compensated really well. I'm pretty sure you guys have also heard really horrible stories, but I think that's my takeaway, is that New York has money.
Yeah, but in the question of like, how do we advocate for better practices with wage?
How do we make sure we get that money?
Right. Yeah, and so I was just recently, I teach at Parsons, and I was part of a part-time faculty union strike, right? And so to be in a union is really strong. Musicians have long term wanted to have a musicians union, right? What would a ceramics fabricator union look like? What would that, what would that be? And how would that start? Even if it's not an official union, what would it be like to just say hey, there's this message board that you can join as a fabricator. We're going to talk about wage in it. And we're going to make sure that nobody's underbidding you in this, in this little chat. How can we build something that is okay, how do we make it so that people that are bidding on jobs are not underbidding you before they hire you? And that's, I think, a big thing. It's if it costs this much, it costs this much, and the people with money are going to pay that much. Right? If you tell them it costs $500 or you tell them it costs $5,000 and they want it, they're going to pay the $5,000. If you tell them it costs $500, they're not going to tell you it costs $5,000.
So on that note, actually, that is kind of the project that Katie and I are starting. If you guys are interested in hearing about it, you can sign up for our emailing list. There's a QR code.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, just going off of that, as so I was also a director at Duclay, which is a studio in Manhattan, and I think and I also have an assistant. I have two assistants, and as an artist, having an opportunity to be in the opposite position of being able to pay people, I think to advocate for pay, I think we ourselves actually need to practice that. And I've been trying to do that as much as I can. I've gotten in trouble for that, but so I think that's one way to for the future, not at this immediate moment, but
You've gotten in trouble for paying people too much?
yes.
That's great.
I'm not hiring.
Okay, so we are. Anyone have a question before I jump into something? Anyone want to jump in here, audience people? Katie. I love it.
So on regards to fan advocacy, there's a lot of pushback when you go to management about pay structures when you're working in an organization, and I'd be curious to see anyone's experience asking or how to advocate for your team, or how to make sure that you go to your manager or you go to your director and how to appropriately ask for pay increase. Because for people who are wondering, I feel nervous about asking for more money and to kind of,
Right. So also, I think another aspect of that that's specific to our industry is that often the businesses that we work for are small businesses or are just one person or, a small team of people. So it's very different to ask for more money or compensation in an organization. I mean, I have only one time worked for a larger organization, and I did not know how to navigate that. So, I mean, this might be a question for the people that work in universities.
I My thing would be that it is like, even if it's a little bit more awkward I've worked for family businesses a lot as well, and I think that it's harder emotionally to talk to a family than it is to talk to a corporation, obviously. But I think that there is a way to be transparent with what your needs are, and also with like the understanding of your value. Your value isn't less because you work for a small business. You're not valued less because you work for somebody that's also strapped. Like, your value is your value. And if someone can't afford you, then that is the case. Like that's kind of that, right? And so I think it's good to have, I mean, like, don't be a jerk about it. Like, don't say that. Like, but I think like it is like good to be like aware of yourself and confident of yourself and your abilities, and understand that like, look, like I don't have to negotiate myself down because of these emotional factors, right? You can think about where that person is with their business, and like, it's good to have empathy, and it's good to have understanding and information. The more information you have, the better. But I think it's good to, if you're working on a specific job, to understand like what the job was quoted at, what you're getting paid versus what the net like income for that job is. And if you can talk to the person in a candid way and say like, this is what I need to make in order for it to make sense for me, because I've done the math. Like, do your homework before you talk to them, and you're going to feel a lot more confident is kind of the answer. I think if you sit down and you think, okay, this job is going to take me this amount of hours, this is how much I'm getting paid an hour to do this job, plus I need to think about if you have to pay for your own clay, if you have to pay for your own firing, if you have to pay for your own glaze, if you have to do glaze tests, if you have to go back and forth with the client on what they like. All of that is time, all of that is money, all of that is your value. And so think of an hourly rate for yourself. Think about like the longest possible amount of time that job could take you, not the client's dream timeline.
And multiply it by 4.
And then multiply it by like 11, and then like that's how you can learn how to be fairly compensated. But I think you really, if you do the math and you think about it and you're thoughtful and you're respectful, you're not coming from it with any amount of anger or frustration. You try to come at it with like an understanding that you're in it together. You're on the same team. You're both working in this field that is difficult to make money in. You have like a candid conversation with them, and they can either pay you what you need to make or they can't. And if you can walk away from a conversation where somebody can't pay you what you need to make, and you're not working for them, and you can walk away from that conversation still friends, and that's a great conversation, right? Like, then everybody walks away with that understanding that they need to sign up for Eleni and Kate's thing. Agency, yes. And talk more about how to raise those, like, those request rates. But yeah, candid, respectful, like open conversations where you've already prepared.
And I think also knowing to walk away.
Yeah, and knowing how to walk away. Like, if everybody in this room was offered the same job, and the job was like paying $12 an hour, like, and we all said no, but one person said yes, like, someone might just say yes because they want to do it. Yeah. Like, it's hard. It's hard. Sometimes you just really want to do it, and sometimes that is also a factor. Sometimes you learn a lot from doing a job that's a little bit below your pay grade.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to jump now, unless anyone wants to. I want to talk about, so this is I want to talk about studio etiquette. Can we jump there, you guys? Okay. So I think this is important because I think we all are often in community studios and community situations, and I think that studio etiquette impacts everyone involved a lot, whether people want to be in the studio. And I think there's not a lot of guidelines about how people should do that, how people should interact with teachers, techs, technicians, and the lines blur a lot. The lines also blur into friendship. So this is a question that I got from a member and student of mine, which I really liked. And she was asking, what is the best way for a student or member to approach a teacher or technician who they want advice or help from? Anyone want to talk about this?
Yeah, sure. You should first identify if that staff member is on duty currently. And if they're not, leave them alone. That's a great starting point. Yeah. Anyone want to add? That's all I got. Yeah,
How much should you ask that?
so like in my job, I really that doesn't work in my job. So I guess make it work for your job. But yeah, I'm the studio manager. So if I'm in the building, I'm on the clock. Yeah, and that's how I view it. And I don't think that's necessarily like a healthy way to view it. So that's a personal thing within me to deal with. But to figure out how to set those boundaries, I look for ways that I can visually cue people around me, whether I'm like aggressively making something or I have headphones in.
Because not only our time is valuable, but our knowledge is valuable.
Yeah.
I've had a friend who had a sign that said, "Not on duty." And people just kept going up to them and saying, "I know you're not working right now, but..." So I think that is like a big thing is don't talk to them. Don't talk to them. Don't talk to them. Don't talk to them if they're not being paid to answer your question. Even if they're your friend, even if they're your teacher.
Is the manager being paid to answer your question? Is the technician being paid to answer your question? Is everyone on duty in a ceramic studio being paid to answer your questions?
It depends on the question.
Okay.
I think
Why?
if the question has to do with like, how do I clean this? How do I put this away properly? How do I respect the space properly? How do I use this machine without breaking it? This machine is breaking. How do I do it properly? Those are all great questions to ask a studio manager when they're on duty. How do I make this cylinder better? How do I where's my bowl? Where's my bowl? Where is my bowl? Is not a question
kiln get
to ask
unloaded
a
yet?
person that is loading or unloading a kiln. Do not ask them where your bowl is. Like, they do not know. They do not care. They've seen 45,000 bowls over the course of a week. I'm not even exaggerating. I think
For sure, that's a
yeah. Don't ask them where your bowl is.
But I think I'm specifically talking about questions that are like
intelligent.
how
They're
do I make this? How do I do this?
Book a class.
And is it your responsibility as the technician or employee of a ceramic studio to teach someone on the spot something?
Book a class. Book a class. Yeah, the hourly rate for a technician is completely different than an hourly rate for a teacher. So don't ask your technician to do their job for half the price, if not more than half the price. It's not okay. It's not fair. Even if it just takes them like 25, whatever. It'll take them like 5 minutes to answer your question. Their question could be answered in an hour-long class, and you will get a lot more out of it. And also, they will get a lot more out of it, and it's a lot more fair than interrupting the job that they have to ask them to do a job that they also have for less money because they're your friend.
This might just be me, but I love to be validated, and I will answer any question you give me. As long as you don't ask for a demo, I will tell you anything that you want to know because I'm like, damn, I kind of know what I'm talking about. And that's maybe just be me. Don't do that to anybody else.
Give a demo.
No, I won't give a demo. I'll answer your question though.
There are some good questions. I gotta admit.
I mean,
How do you do that?
okay. Yeah, I mean, do you guys think... I think that it's very common practice for studio members to feel entitled to the knowledge of the employees that work there. And I think that does devalue our knowledge as teachers and as people who have valuable knowledge to share. I mean, like something I say all the time is like, I wouldn't walk into the bank and like ask my accountant how to do his job so that like I could do it without, paying him for it. I don't know, maybe that's a bad way to say it. Do you have one?
Sure. Yeah. Although you might not be like on the clock at that specific time, maybe that's not your job to answer a certain question or to help someone find something. But whether you're on the clock or not, it is your job to like foster a good environment for an educational ceramics studio. So I guess the question is then, how do you do that?
Why is that your job?
That's my job. Yeah. So that's how I navigate my space. Yeah. But also, I think if you're in a building where you're employed and someone asks you something, you can like strategically direct them somewhere else. I find that the time that I spend strategically directing someone somewhere else equates to the time of answering the question and doing kind of what was asked, sort of, or like helping someone problem solve. So I don't really mind in that regard, because I've learned to, like, if I want to have a studio practice, it's not necessarily going to be at the place where I work. So I've chosen to like make objects off site for that reason. Yeah, so I think like for me, it's more important to make sure that that person feels heard, even if that is just like, oh, sorry, like I'm not on duty, but like my friend over there is working, like check in with them. So I'm never going to be like, I'm not working, don't talk to me. Like, because I just think that that's not like the type of space I would want to be in anyways. So that's kind of where I'm at with that type of thing.
That's not the vibe I'm trying to build. Yeah. I just want to be clear. I'm just trying to say it is like, well, it's super easy to answer someone's question. And it's like, and it's also like, I've done it a million times I'm a retired technician, so that's why I'm being a little more brass. But I'm retired technician because I've completely, like, they can't afford me anymore. Like, I can't do it anymore. I just had a baby and I'm no longer capable of working a technician job because they won't pay you enough money. I was great at it, and self-anointing. But I was pretty good at it, and I really liked doing it. And I would answer any question. I would jump on a wheel and do a demo. But like, I don't think it is necessarily the technician's job, because if there was a studio that was going to pay me the amount of money that it costs to like put my child in the care of somebody I trust and go to work every day, then I would answer all your questions. I'd teach you how to throw a mug or whatever, but there isn't. And so I think that it is truly fair to say that, like, if you have a job that pays more money at your studio, that compensates people fairly and answers that question, then that is where to direct them. You know, like it is like, it's super easy to be like, oh, just like take this rib and do this thing. And like, that's super easy to do all day long. And like, that's not a problem. Like, that's not the problem, right? Like, the problem is the longer form question that enters into like a full discussion, that it becomes like a little bit of a free class, right? Like, where it's like, it's fine to be like, oh, you just need this rib, or, oh, like, hey, like, it's easy to walk around a studio and be like, unsolicited advice, like brace your elbow. But it's like, you know, you always want to help somebody that's struggling in a community. And that is always like the center point of everybody's like management and like technician. I'm sure that's everybody's experience, is like, you never want to see somebody struggling. You never want to see somebody frustrated if you know the answer and you can give it to them in 30 seconds. Right. Like, but I think what Eleni is saying is like, how often is it that somebody just comes for a piecemeal class throughout like a 24-hour period to finish a little commission that they've got, that's like a thing that like they're like, oh, like, how do I do this, and then how do I do this, and then how do I do this, and how do I do this? And I think that's where it becomes like a thing where it's like, you're not really, like, you could have just booked a class and then I could have just like, everybody could have won.
Yeah, I get that. I think it's difficult if you're employed at a community studio and then you're off the clock. If the role that you're performing at that second isn't a staff member, then you're a community member. So then how do you exist as a community member without that role? So like, you still have to kind of navigate that space.
Totally. And then talented community members have the same problem, right? Like, talented community members are also dealing with a thing where they've paid to be in a space and people are being like, how'd you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had members that come...
Which is cool and fun, but also not fun all the time.
Right, sorry, what were you... I was going to say, I've had people that have come to my studio to rent a shelf from larger studios because people won't leave them alone.
Yeah.
I think it's everyone's valid here. But I think it's really just setting your own personal boundaries. Like my boundaries might be different than Dave's boundaries, and whatever. Like everybody has different boundaries of what they're able to offer up, and that is just on a Tuesday, ask me whatever. On a Monday, don't ask me, and you're not going to know that, but that's my responsibility to tell you if I'm capable of answering your question or not. And I think as someone who has not had formal training, I didn't go to college for ceramics. I have not had formal training. I didn't really have ever taken a class in ceramics. I was introduced in high school, which was, my high school teacher was very much graphic design is my passion, and didn't really he's like, go. So most, if not, all of my knowledge has come from community studios. I spent a lot of time in a community studio in Orlando where everybody in the studio has been doing ceramics for 30, 40 plus years, and every single one of them were so vital and so important to my growth as a ceramicist, and knowing what I know today because of them. And if I didn't have their generosity and their time of giving their knowledge that they had, I would have been very lost. I would have just, I think that was just very important to my growth. And I think I take that along with me as just spreading that generosity of my 90-year-old pottery members who make sculptures of whale to avoid alcoholism. That's an actual. Sorry, that's an actual.
I know her.
Yeah, sorry, we're getting off. But just generosity of community members, and that's where I learned all of my knowledge is from other community members and techs. So that's yeah. My bad. Ron, love you.
Yeah, I guess we've all got to navigate it on our own. But okay, so I'm going to jump now. I think one of the other important things that we wanted to touch on before we get to straight up questions, and I do have a list of questions other people submitted, is let's talk about diversity in the ceramic community. And what is the biggest barrier to diversity in the ceramics community that we're seeing, or how do we feel about how to be more inclusive?
I think it's education and accessibility. And obviously, we can even see it in this room that there's a lack of diversity in terms of what represents even Brooklyn. And that's something I've been really interested in, I guess, my entire career of ceramics, is that how do we diversify and how do we include more people that are, for instance, people of color or people from different backgrounds. And, I'm on a board for Art Shack, and, they've had their controversies, but also they've been doing a good job in terms of tapping into their community and their neighborhoods to offer free classes, and to grow new artists. And I think that's one thing that we got to think about is how do we, as an artist, do we just exist as part of this community where we just constantly appeal to people who can afford this, or do we go out of our way to change things? And I'm also interested in what we all have to say, as well as what everybody else has to say. So if you want to...
Well, I think just touching on that, one thing that comes to mind is we already kind of talked about how expensive ceramics is as a medium. There's a high entry fee to have access to these materials. So that makes it a lot more difficult for people to get into it. So I'm not sure how struggling artists can really help that much, but that's just something that comes to mind for me.
I would say don't rank Cuomo. And public education. I think public education, and prioritizing that with your vote, and prioritizing public education in when you're searching for grants. There's a lot of grants, or there were before the education department was dismantled. But there are grants that are available if you are interested in going into a public school and teaching ceramics and bringing those pieces back to your studio and firing them. That's a job that you can make for yourself by filing for a grant and getting it and going into that school and teaching those kids how to feel like they have access to this thing, so that when they see a ceramic studio pop up in their neighborhood, they don't feel like it's completely foreign to them. They're walking into a space where nobody looks like them and they've never touched the thing, and it looks a lot easier than it is, and then they're just struggling in a space where, you know, like less people look like them and they don't know how to ask for help, because we've just said that you shouldn't bother the technicians, but you can, absolutely can. But I'm just saying, like, if you want to, if you want to, like, apply for a grant and get into a public school, go into a public school, volunteer to a public school, and do not rank Cuomo.
That's pretty good. Okay, so I had a question from one of our other friends, which was that, like, in our work, in our types of work, in our running studios, do we feel like it is always a slog and we're always behind in the studio? And how do we find time to make work outside of our jobs? Do you guys make work outside of your studio practice, outside of running studios, outside of managing studios? Do you make your own work?
I make work. Sometimes my shift is from like 10 p.m. to 4 in the morning. But I think it's just how it is if you work, especially like 5 days a week. Gotta make a little sacrifice. And another thing is, like, as being an artist, you also have to be out there, right? You're not just making work in the studio, but you also have to go to shows and go to these galas and talks.
You're going to galas?
And
That's why he's gotta leave it.
yeah, no, it's a potluck. It's I was
Damn.
The Met Gala. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you guys saw my fancy. No, that's my fancy sweater. No. But so I think it's really hard to juggle all these things, you know, especially if you have multiple jobs and you're making art, and also trying to be an artist and try to make connections with other people and other collectors. But I think you just have to set your priority, and you know, sometimes it's happiness, sometimes it's your career. So you just have to choose, and I think I chose careers. That's why I don't see. I think I'm happy because my career is doing.
Yeah, that was my next question. Are you happy?
But go to the gym, work out, eat good food.
And you have time to go to between 5 and 7. Sorry.
Gym opens at 5:30. Get 30 minutes of sleep.
Yeah, it's hard to make work for sure, but I think if that's what you want to do, like, you find the time, and for me, like, I kind of break it up into like different chunks of times, or like maybe it's seasonal, or maybe it depends on a deadline, but I go through waves where I'm super active in the studio, and then I take a step back and I want to be more active in my life with like my relationships, my family, my household, my like mental and physical health. So I try and balance all of that. The past year, like, I opened up a business, and the studio practice like totally went quiet, but like that was an intentional a choice, because I had like a series of shows before that, and I felt like confident about like where that was at, and then in hopes of like gaining more stability in the long run, took on more work, and then I know that like more studio time will open up. But I'm very like pro focus on your life too. Like I hated this mindset in art school where it was just like, go to the studio nonstop, like only stop to sleep, like don't hang out, like don't do anything, like just make art. And I just think that's like very not a good way to live too. So I try and be like really conscious of when am I actually like capable of making that work? Because sometimes I think that I'm capable and I'm actually not, and like the work is bad. So like being really in tune with like what your capacity is, and like when can you like enter into that like flow state where it is going to work in the studio. So yeah, like going with like the ebb and flow of all of that, I think has been helpful.
Do you feel that you've always been able to identify like when it's healthy for you to work, or is that kind of like at what age did you
I
start to realize
I still
have self-awareness?
I don't think like I'm there yet, you know.
Yeah, it is hard.
Like some nights I'm like, tonight's gonna be the studio night, and I show up and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, it's not tonight. But like, I think it will happen, or like, I find those moments where you do like lock in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I think being an artist isn't always about being creative. Like if a deadline comes up, it is like labor. So being aware of like, when do I need creative energy and when do I need labor energy? And I think that they're like two different things. And I think to like unlock something new in the studio, I have to be in a completely different mindset than like, oh, I need to push through and get this work made for a show. Like they're two different headspaces for me. So if I can identify like which one of those headspaces I need to be in, I think I can find a balance normally.
Okay. Do you guys want to say anything else before I?
My thoughts are definitely not organized enough to differentiate when I need to lock in and when I don't need to. I'm really sliding by on slim chances, guys. Brain is not organized, but somehow I get by, and I think that that's okay as long as you're getting by and you're healthy and okay for the most part. That's good enough for me, kind of. Yeah.
I think also having a mentorship really helps, because there are people who have done this, who've survived New York, they per se, or who's done art for a really long time and they're retired professors or artists who are just old and still kicking and making art. and I think talking to them and getting advice and how do you sustain all of this, and also seeing a mentor who's successful also motivates you to kind of help you understand that there is an end to this, or there is or maybe there isn't. Maybe you just keep going.
Oh, do you want to talk about finding a mentor?
I think,
or engaging with one.
For me, it's been my professors, but also I have a friend who's kind of a mentor, and he's 20 years older than me, but he would here and there always tell me like, hey, like, are you okay? He would check to see. I just had a call with him, and he's like, oh, are you doing okay? Do you need help? Even though he's super busy and he's like traveling all over the world, he's like, hey, I can make some pinch spots for you, like So it's like, let me just come kick you. Let's go play basketball. So I think having a mentor who understands your situation and and also works from like not just like being in this like teaching ceramics community environment, but also going to shows or sometimes just like but actually one of the person that I talk to quite often is like one of those people that ask me questions at a studio. And
okay, good. So it goes both ways sometimes.
Yes.
That's a good point.
And we struck a conversation, and he happened to be a big artist who's not in ceramics, and we still talk, and he actually gives me a lot of good advice in terms of navigating the New York art world. So maybe do help people when they ask questions.
Yeah, there's a give and take, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not saying never. I'm just trying to answer the question.
Have boundaries.
My life work balance is to try to like have. I think having a goal and like a clear vision like ahead of time helps a lot. Is like, or deadlines are really helpful for me. So I like for example, I was teaching part-time like 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week, and then I was working a full-time job, and then I also was managing part-time at a studio. So it's working like 70 to 80 hour weeks, and I had to make plates for my wedding. Completely necessary thing that you have to do. You have to do it. It's unavoidable, or no one has anything to eat off of.
You felt entitled to get married during this period.
And so and like, how dare me? But I made like 400 pieces of ceramic for people to eat off of and be served off of during the course of a year, and I took off all of that time from fabrication but I was working these other jobs. But I found that was like the most validating experience because I was making these things. I wasn't being paid for them. I was making them for myself, for my own pleasure. I wasn't gonna like sell the plates I made for my wedding. That would be gross. But like I was making them, and I felt like, okay, like I could do anything if I can do this like crazy schedule to afford to do this other thing in order to make all of these things. And it ended up ultimately, like throughout the process, I was like, I'm not going to like make these plates and the whole time be like cursing myself. Like that would be like bad. That'd be like a bad vibe to imbue into the plates. So
They would all break.
they wouldn't be good. They wouldn't be good plates. So I was like, every time I made the plates, I'd be like, this is a happy time. This is a thing that I'm doing to like prepare for my wedding. I'm so happy. Like, what a great time. And I felt that like having that goal taught me a lot because I was for a long time, like you were saying, like, just like, it just happens and like, it's fun, like whatever, you know, like cool. But when you have like a thing where you've set a goal for yourself and there's like a set date, and it's not for a client, it's for you. It's different. I think that like kind of shifted things for me where I was like, oh, like for a client, it's different. You're like, it's fine. You can put whatever vibe you want into those plates. But if it's for, it's for your own like expression and of love for a community of people that have supported you, then it's different. So yeah, having a goal and a deadline is really important. And then trying to not be bad vibes during that.
And keeping the passion alive, like for your own work. Okay, thank you. So I think this is the last question I'm going to pull from what I've got from people who submitted questions, and then if we want to open it up, if any of you guys have questions you want to throw at us before Dave goes to the Met Gala. So someone asked that someone said they're interested in hearing what our experiences and potential setbacks have been, and solutions that you've come up with navigating the ceramics community here in New York. Also establishing a studio. Anyone have anything there? Yeah.
So I've been here, I think 7 years. I always forget. Especially with COVID, it's just like a blur. But I was able to find the community and kind of expand. And I think people wanted to learn certain things from me, or they were interested in my career. And when I started working at Limsclay, the Manhattan studio, I was able to gather all these people into one studio, and I had a blast because I was, meeting more people as well as like people that I've, that have taken my classes and just kind of been known for each other. And when I quit, they were all like, "What are you gonna do? You have to open up a studio." And they're really good because I realized that there is a community that really supported me. So I was kind of peer pressure to open the studio, but at the same time, I'm glad I did because now people are in there and they're making work, and I see them every day, and that's what I really appreciate. I totally string off the question. What was the question? Sorry. It was kind of broad. Yes.
Yeah, what kind of like setbacks and solutions you've come up with while navigating the ceramics community here in New York, and also regarding establishing a studio.
Has anybody had electrical problems?
What kind of electrical problems?
like installing your kilns and getting more power.
You're looking for references?
No, just in general. I think, who's Joe? What? Who's that? I have no idea. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a different Joe.
Oh, sorry. No.
Okay.
New York Kiln Guy, Instagram.
So I think that was the thing I learned. Like getting electrical work done in New York is like pain in the ass in terms of setback. And I think obviously financial situation and how do you price classes, how do you price memberships, and I've since I taught at different studios, I was able to reach out to, for instance, like Core from Gasworks or like Andrew from Sculpture Space, and building those relationships really helped me to be here and where I am right now, and everybody's in the ceramics community in New York has been really helpful in terms of that. Like everybody wants you to succeed. I think there's some people who are not, but mostly in my experience have been very positive and very supportive.
So no setbacks, right?
Yeah. Electrical and monetary is the setback, but I think that going in hand of having community, like the New York ceramics community especially is very small, very tight. So word gets around. Don't do anybody dirty, because I'm just saying. Even if you are a bad person, you will still get work and you will still have people working for you. Oh my God, should I not be saying that? But I think that would be a potential setback, is that word gets around, and be a good person. We can go there. Y'all want to go there? No, we don't have to. But yeah, I think that's really the only thing to keep in mind, is that the community is very small, and most of the time people have your best interests and they want to uplift you and they want to expand and foster community in this practice. But there are always going to be shitty people, and there's shitty people in every medium and every job, all those things. I think that would probably be the only thing. I think the biggest setback would be money and electricity. 240 volt, very hard to come by in New York. I don't have 240, no. I thought I did. I was lied to. I have a 218. Yep, 218. But now I have a 208. Sorry.
Everybody's single phase.
Yeah.
Three phase.
Yay.
I just think like the main obstacle that stood out for me is there's not a lot of jobs, and I started off by saying like, oh, there's so many jobs in New York, but the field of ceramics is so small. So this is like larger than New York, like this is nationwide, and it's kind of the situation where like when a college faculty position opens up, like the whole U.S. of ceramic artists are applying. So like you're kind of competing with people you went to school with, people who are way more qualified than you. It's just everyone is jumping for the same position. So I think just being like aware of that and not finding validation and like what you get accepted to, and just knowing that like you kind of just have to wait in line and keep going and keep applying. Like I emailed ceramic studios for like a year straight before I got like my first in. So it took me a year of trying to just like get my foot in the door, and like one job just leads to another and to another, and then people kind of know you're around. And then the studio manager job came up at Greenwich House like 3 different occasions, and I was like trying to kind of like get in there multiple times, and it was on like the 3rd time that like I got that job. So just like, yeah, you kind of just have to wait it out and not stop, really. Like my rejection letter pile is so high. It's like sky high, and then my acceptance pile is like really small.
In your pocket.
Yeah, it's in my pocket.
Yeah, I think that the answering the setbacks thing is hard, because I think that in order to be like successful in ceramics, you don't see the setbacks. Is that a good way of answering that? It's more along the lines of like, oh, like that was really helpful for me. Like I learned a lot.
We're certainly acclimated to failure.
Yeah,
right?
and also not necessarily failure. It's just sort of like you're like, oh, like well that didn't work. Like
Right.
keep going. Like
Right.
I like gotta make this pot
Do it
now.
again.
Yeah, like all right. Well, good night, everybody. I'm gonna finish these. Like I don't know.
Spent 20 hours on that, but I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah. I think that's why everybody's like, I have a really hard time not helping people when they ask, even though I have to make all these cups for no money. I just have to answer their questions because I think everybody's really positive minded, and that's why it's hard to answer the setback thing.
Yeah. Also, we're being nice, but just kidding. Anyway. Okay, so does anyone out there have questions for us before we wrap it up?
To what extent or how much detail do you give to clients about your expertise? Because I think you had mentioned, we kind of see this finished product, but there's a lot of knowledge that goes into it, temperature, kiln maintenance, math, etc. So when you get jobs, do you usually communicate like that level of detail, or do you kind of just give them a sort of finished product version of your pieces?
Are you talking about fabrication work?
Just kind of any mostly fabrication, yes.
Wow, great question.
I think that mostly clients that do come to you for fabrication, most of them do not know anything about ceramics, so they have no idea what to ask, and I think they don't really know what goes into it, and they're like, yeah, you can make a plate, so you can make 600, and you can make it blue. And that's really it. Like, they really don't, at least in my experience, they don't care because they don't know, and they don't know what to ask for. So
I think there's a mix. I also get clients who, I often get people calling me and saying like, oh, how would you do it? And sometimes it's because they have a friend who's taking a ceramics class who thinks that they can do it, and they want, like, I can tell that they want me to tell them like how it would be done or something. So, I mean, I think that there's also a mix, and there also is a mix of like, how much do you explain to clients, like when it will be helpful, when they will actually understand it. I don't know, does anyone want to?
I mean, I had a client ask me, she's like, this is a stupid question. No stupid questions. I love answering questions, but she asked me, why can't I make an oval platter on the wheel? And I said, because it's not round. So I was like, that's fine. You can ask that. I'm going to hand build that. She said, what is that? So I think that goes into just like, I'll explain it, but I think because they don't know what to ask, they won't really ask. But that's just my experience with my specific clients. There are definitely clients out there that's like, I want a cone 8 clay, and I'm like, why? So.
But if you break it down, you could probably make more money. So like if you itemize, like anytime, like, I don't know, like I said, I just got married. So like I got quotes from people immediately, like that were like crazy quotes. And I was like, wow, I should be making more money. Like, if I like want to pay this person to do this thing that I think takes less time than the plates I'm making. But like it's emailing them back and being like, can you itemize this for me? Helped me out a lot. But like, then it also like helped inform my own practice when talking to people about like pricing things out. Right. And so if you're itemizing things, then you can also get ahead of something that is like a client meeting that just keeps repeating itself, right? And so a job is always going to cost more than what you're expecting it to cost, right? And so pricing your hourly rate high enough, but it's like like you want to be like in that like 50 plus range, so that you're like, yeah. And then like if your client is like a good client, they're not going to like balk at you paying yourself $50 an hour for the expertise that they have sought you out for, right? And so say you're making that an hour, and then they want to make sure that they want like a specialty glaze. They want to have meetings to review test tiles. They want to like, how much do those test tiles cost? How much does the review of it cost? What does the firing cost? Like, don't break it down so much that it's like you're telling them how much your kiln costs to fire, but decide on what your kiln costs to fire, because your kiln doesn't cost like the $20 it costs to fire a kiln, right? A kiln firing costs like $50+, right? Because it's like you're talking to Alpine Kilns, and even though Joe is very fair, he's got to be paid too. He's got kids, and so you want to make sure that you're including the cost of everything that you have in those like little bits, as well as your hourly. And so then if you break that down, it seems a lot more fair to the client than just saying like, this is a big bulky number and I haven't thought about it. And it also makes it easier for you to come up with what that price is too, right? Like if you're looking at a job, you might be like underbidding yourself significantly if you're not looking at the hourly rate for how much, like, if you don't have a job right now, then time yourself making the thing that you want to make, and see how long it takes you to do, like, 20 plates or 20 mugs or whatever, and what's your hourly rate for that? Like, what does that cost you in clay? How much, what does it cost you in firing and et cetera?
So it's 8:30. Should we wrap it up? Should we take another cue? Okay. I mean, I'll just see if anyone has more questions or anybody. Jocelyn. Oh, pass this. You guys pass this.
Okay, thank you guys so much. I'm so impressed that you guys opened your own studios, all of you, or most of you. And I'm so curious how you knew you were ready to do that, financially. And it sounds like you've had some opportunities that sort of prompted it, but how did you know you're ready to take the plunge? Was there a number that you were I feel confident now, just because there's so much equipment you have to amass? And I think it's beautiful to draw on the community and have folks sharing space. So I'm just curious if you guys might share how you approached that big jump.
I was saving for an upstate house for ever since I've been in New York. Now I can't afford it anymore. But I think I think it's worth it. I can save up a little more in the next 5 years, and maybe it'll work out then.
But just to be clear, you are operating a member studio.
Yes. Yeah.
And are you talking about a member studio or are you talking about a private studio?
I think just any space that you're setting up where you yourself are in charge of figuring out how much it's going to cost to rent it and if they put breaking.
Because it's a much different thing to have a studio where you're going to be doing your own work and you maybe have one wheel versus you're going to open a studio that's big enough to have, 10 wheels or whatever, because you're going to do classes or something, and equipment for that.
Yeah, I think you just have to model projections. If you set up your dream space, what is the turnaround going to look like a year from then, or what's it going to look like 2 years from then, and kind of assess what the risk is worth. So for Dave, it was his savings. For me, it was a loan. So that's going to look a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. So yeah, that's how I took the step. Yeah.
To go back onto the opportunity that I had to open my own studio, it is a private member studio, so it's not I'm not bringing people in to do all these things. But I think the barrier in my head of opening a studio sounded way more daunting than it actually was. Somebody asked me how did you even do that? And I'm it's really just a room. You're just in a room and you make stuff in that room. You have to pay for, electric rewiring in a kiln for, 2.8 volt kiln. But I think, the build out, you have to think about the build out. It's $10,000, $15,000 up front, but then you're just adding that onto your rent, your apartment rent. And then, if you can feasibly pay $600, $1,000 on top of your normal rent, if you think that that's worth it, that's your own discretion. If you think that you can, I think do it. But it sounds a lot more daunting than it is. But if this is a lifelong thing, my dad was what if your business fails? I'm it's a business, but it's also my passion. So whether or not I'm doing ceramics as my job, I will still continue to do it as my life
Work
thing. It's just my thing, I guess, whether or not I'm making money from it.
Also, before I take more questions, was there anything else that you guys wanted to touch on that I skipped over? Anything you want to get off your chest? Feeling okay? All right.
Oh, I think we say the ceramics community in New York is so small, but it's still quite big because I have not met some of the folks here. So.
Well, that's because I never leave the studio.
Okay.
Pretty much. So.
Same here. That's why.
And I also want to just say, I hope I wasn't too negative. You should ask people and talk to people at your studio. Be friendly and answer people's questions. I'm just saying, don't.
For sure, but I do think I think it's good to
read the room. Read the room. Don't bug people.
It's good to have a balance. It's good to set boundaries. It's good to have conversations about what,
share and give
what that's expected. For example, here, I will answer questions to people, but they are also respectful of my time. And if they have a lot of questions, they will book a private hour with me and they'll write all their questions down and we'll schedule a time so that they're not interrupting me while I'm doing my work, and I can give them my full attention, and they don't have to feel like they're imposing or something. So like those are boundaries that are easy for me to set with the people in my space. But anyway, that's just one way that I do it. And I think it's good to have those conversations. Anyone else? Questions? Okay. Well, thank you. I guess that wraps it up.
Wait, sorry, one more thing. Don't rank. Whoa. Don't rank them.
Thank you.
Don't rank them.